lot of things have happened in past mm, 72 to 80 hours. Uh, Manipur issue has become a larger issue in Northeast. And on Sunday, uh, I saw a notice by Pamra, Mizoram, saying that Meiteis should take care of themselves in the state. Uh, Yesterday evening, there was a statement from Assam Manipuri Student Association saying that uh, the Kuki community should take care of themselves in Assam. I mean to say that this is completely unacceptable. Civil society members should play a healing touch. They're hardening position. They are forcing state to behave differently. Mr. Haokip, can you unmute yourself? Can you unmute yourself, sir? Can you unmute yourself? I think there's a bit of an audio problem with Mr. Haokip. I'll try again. Mr. Haokip, am I audible to you?
I was muted.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Yes, please go ahead.
Uh, you know, we have almost seen what we have been warning since the last 2 months, that the conflict in Manipur could spiral out to the neighboring states of Mizoram, Nagaland, and Assam. And the last 24 hours, the state government of Mizoram and Assam, they have been proactive in trying to control the situations, in the sense that uh, they try to engage with those civil society organizations by trying to make the situation go down, uh, by engaging with those people, those leaders, and taking back all those informations or all the press releases that were done. So in that way, Mizoram and Assam had been trying to deal with this situation in a manner that has been expected, and I'm thankful to the state government of Assam and Mizoram for especially the Barak Valley and the areas bordering Mizoram has been calm. They are the police is able to control the situation there. That should have been the situation in Manipur on 3rd May, had the police given the kind of intelligence output. They had controlled the people. Okay, they have controlled the leaders, not to venture beyond certain points. Manipur conflict could have been avoided, on the first day itself. And I just want to react to Mr. Vohra previous statements, like the immigration of cookies from Myanmar, or the cultivation of poppy. Prasenjit Da has a kind of reacted to that also, but I would also further give certain inputs that this area, the so-called Mizoram, Manipur hills, and Myanmar is a kind of a cultural area. In historical epoch, there has been a kind of mobility of people from the same ethnic groups, and what you can see in Nagaland also, for instance, there are villages which falls between India and Myanmar. There are certain villages which has citizenship from both India and Myanmar. So these are the cultural realities, geographical realities of the Northeast, which has to be handled with care and with sensitivity. But the idea of Manipur that has been propagated for the last 75 years perhaps is going to end, because the idea of Manipur has been a kind of a shared space where many ethnic groups has been living together, with certain harmony. Of course, there were certain, low level kind of disharmony or kind of disputes existing within the societies, but there has been control to a large extent. But since the early 90s, we have the kind of conflict that started in the northern hills, where there is a kind of a clear sweeping of certain populations into the southern part of Manipur, or even in the Imphal Valley. There has been conflict in the in certain months of 1993. So this kind of balkanization of people, and if you look into Manipur today, there's a clear kind of geographical divide between the hills and valley, where there are imaginary boundaries drawn. on the foothills of Imphal Valley, where the hill peoples, particularly the Kuki communities, are not able to venture there. And there's a clear, kind of partition or boundaries created between what the colonial rulers call proper Manipur. So Imphal Valley has become a proper Manipur now, and the hills districts purely has become outer Manipur. So the kind of share space that we have seen for the last 75 years of Indian independence is slowly eroding, and we need certain kind of political interventions to bring certain uh, forms of peace. So this violence or this kind of ethnic conflict is a political violence, where even women body has been used as a kind of political violence. So so this kind of situation, which is very political, needs a kind of political resolution. And for the last almost 3 months, the central government has not done anything to resolve all these political issues. So this is the kind of a situation where people are left to fend for themselves. And in the hill areas, many of the relief materials are not reaching properly, and many are almost starving. There is no sanitation, there is no water supply properly in the relief camps.
Well, gentlemen, Kabir Naqvi this side, replacing Kartikeya here in the studio for a while. I'm going to first go across to BL Vohra, the former DGP for Tripura and Manipur, who's with us on the broadcast. Sir, this whole narrative that's been thrown about, the reports doing the rounds, 718 is the number of Myanmarese nationals who have, crossed that border onto our side in Manipur. And the Home Department and the government are putting all kinds of pressure on the Assam Rifles now, asking them questions about why this happened in the first place and to push them back. Now, when we're looking at the Assam Rifles pushing these 700 plus odd Myanmaris back, first and foremost, throw some light on what's your take on why this happened without any proof, without any proper documentation. And when we're talking about pushing back, what kind of challenges will the Assam Rifles now face?
First of all, I would like to react a little to the two respected professors who spoke earlier.
Sure.
It was about the immigrants that I had raised the issue. See, cookies have been settled here for quite long, maybe a century or two ago. But I was referring to the recent spate of these cookies who have come over from the Myanmar side. See, every country has its own national boundaries, and they were illegal entrance to Manipur, and by their coming, lot of things have happened, like poppy cultivation. They occupied lot of land. The government identified them. Some villages were destroyed, which was of course wrong. They should have been taken into confidence. To say that one should treat them with sensitivity, but not so much that you cannot make them the citizens of your own country and allow them to do whatever they like. So coming to this Assam Rifles, see, border with Myanmar of India is about 1,700 kilometers. Manipur has about 400 kilometers of border. It's a porous border. People keep on coming. More, if you have heard of, is known for decades, drugs and precious stones and things like that, and even weapons have been coming from across the border. So, Assam is very thin on ground. That is a problem. And there are communities, of course, they have kith and kin on either side. In fact, you may know, see, there's a border agreement within 20 kilometers of each other. They are allowed to come and go for trade purposes, local trade purposes. But doesn't mean that they will come and stay. No, because the situation in Myanmar became bad, and the Kuki, their ethnic tribes who are there, they were also a kind of a target with the army regime there in Myanmar. So they found it better to come here, and there they had their brethren here and who have given them shelter. No harm giving a shelter, but you can't indulge in illegal activities, and they should be identified and sent. But having said all this, I think Matthew's land was also encroached on. But I think Matthews went overboard, if you ask me. I'm being very frank on this. I think indulging in so much of violence is not done. It should not be done. Justice must be given. As I've said earlier, the cases must be registered, investigated by the CBI or by a court-monitored probe with fast-track courts, and everyone, whosoever is the criminal, must be given due punishment.
Mr. Vohra, we're sitting at near about 80 days ever since this particular conflict began. And ever since the first day, one of the few socio-economic fault lines that people have been talking about is, of course, narco-terrorism. And with narco-terror comes the fact that it is a porous border. I mean, we know this from day one. Ever since, various articles were being promulgated in the state of Manipur, we know exactly how kind of a tenuous state this, the hill area is going through. And it only goes on to show that the topography is so treacherous, we still don't know about these 400 kilometers of porous border that you're talking about. If on day one we knew that it's a porous
there.
border,
But
why now,
talking of
why
my
still today
situation,
700 Myanmaris have crossed the border, sir?
the point is, as I've said already, if you heard me, the political class, the bureaucratic class, and the police totally failed in the performance of their duties. The violence should not have been allowed at all. The whole thing should have been handled in a very sensitive way and proper way. But there are divisions within all these three classes between Kukis and Maithis. And they both communities are wonderful people. And they all have their aspirations and all. And ST status, which they were demanding, Maithis, became a trigger. The whole lots of questions. Situation has been handled badly. Anywhere, wherever situation comes bad, in 3-4 days, it comes under control. Here it is 3 months. So I think the buck stops at the central government and the state government.
All right.
Some hard political decisions are needed, and the administration should be overhauled totally, and it should be mostly manned by people who are neutral, if nothing else.
Well, even as we're learning about an all-party meet that's going to move towards...
And I'm shocked as a policeman. 40 years I have served in police. In Manipur, I have done 3 tenures. First I went in 1980. I am honestly shocked that it is taking 3 months. So some drastic steps will have to be taken. And of course, peace has to be restored. And between the communities, I think a lot of effort is required to have a reconciliation, which must be done.
Right. Mr. Vohra, reconciliation. That's another word that Kartikeya was also talking about. Professor Prasenjit, sir, would you like to throw some light on the reconciliation factor? Whether it is even possible? Whether is it even possible? I mean, the lingering bad taste, the after effect, the aftertaste of is reconciliation even possible? That's the bigger question today.
Yes, Meiteis and Kukis have lived together. You see, that past history cannot be erased. Just because there is this episode of violence, we have to bank ourselves on history and the tradition of coexistence, as I have earlier pointed out. Now, what breaches that? The bridging factors have to be bridged up, as I have said earlier also. Now, here one important factor is stereotyping the whole community. There are these intrusions, border crossing, as highly respected police officer, Mr. Vohra has pointed out, that there is border crossing, but border crossing from this side to that side. Lot of Meitei people have also crossed the border. Lot of Naga people have crossed the border into Myanmar. So border crossing is something that depends on, as we say in social sciences, the extension, the forward and backward extension of the social and cultural boundary. No one is an autochthon. Even if the border is guarded, autochthonous people will not be available. People will be migrating, flip-flopping from one side to another side. How we manage the soft border, how we manage the imageries of the diaspora and the anaspora that various communities have. And Kuki Jo is a transnational community. Just as many of us Indians are transnational community. My community being a Bengali, we are in Bengal. I am from Assam. I grew up as a child in Nagaland and in Arunachal Pradesh since 1969. So I have seen before my eyes how various communities came. No one is an autochthon in the whole of Northeast, That's the situation. But people have to live together. No one should blame the other, the entire community as a kind of an illegal immigrant. So reconciliation is possible on the basis of the trust that we have built up over the years. And now for the bridging factors, we have to bring together communities to a common ground, the ground of peace, with the initiative of the state. State should collaborate, cooperate, should not be too harsh, should not be too diluted in action, but should be able to balance out that critical balancing has to be done. State and central government have a major role to play. And many peacemakers are waiting around. They should also be brought into the peace process. Now, that process has not been initiated in Manipur. Cookies cannot come back to Imphal. Meiteis also cannot feel safe in Churachandpur. So you see, the process of bringing back people to their homes have to begin. And that requires a special kind of a security arrangement. Let us try and think about it. Also giving medical help to victims of sexual violence, to the victims of those who are injured, those who have been killed, those whose bodies are lying in the morgues. Even now, in Imphal morgues, why aren't families able to take the bodies back? We should ask these hard questions. We will get an answer. And accordingly, state has to revamp his initiative. That's what I want to say. Thank
Professor
you, Mr.
Prasenjit,
Desai.
I just wanted to echo on this one little point as well. We're constantly, showcasing those visuals where those makeshift arrangements are being made, those houses are being built. You were talking about how the first step in the direction towards reconciliation has to be for these people to go back to their homes, to start feeling
Absolutely.
normal once again.
Yes.
The kind of steps that the government is taking, we saw that train come back with relief materials. We saw, these makeshift, accommodations that are being built. Is the government taking the right steps in the right direction, according to you?
Yes, 50% right. But the other 50%, where people are not able to trust each other, that needs to be bridged up.
You know what?
That's
Actually, Professor Prasenjit, let me put it this way. Do you think the intention of the government at this point in time is right?
Yes, as far as central government is concerned, as far as larger public of India and Northeast is concerned, we have a collective intentionality of building back the peace and harmony. No doubt about it. As India, we are one people. And we cannot allow breaching of our unity and integrity in the name of community, ethnicity, language, and such primordial markers. Now, primordial markers are in operation. Whose land is this? I am the authentic, genuine, and others are non-citizens. This kind of a discourse and othering must stop. This is the real aspect of that intentionality. Now, state has to really cultivate that intentionality, has to show its own moral standing by doing good care work. Care institutions have to be built up, mobilize care workers, and in an inter-community manner, so that Kuki care workers can go to Meiteis. Meitei care workers can go to Kukis. Naga care workers can go to Meiteis. We should develop this inter-community care work, which is available within the mechanism of the state. But state probably is little slow in doing that. So 50% is done. We want rest 50% to be done with a greater, strength and veracity. It has to be done with a greater strength and veracity, I would say. Yeah.
Well, all right. I really appreciate the fact, Professor Prasenjit, that, towards the end of that comment, at least you had a smile from your ear to ear. And it seems like 50% is still at least a little step towards the right direction. Professor Prasenjit, many thanks for joining with us and helping us out with your insightful inputs like every day.